there's something great going on, and you're about to learn how to be a part of it. And it's going to be a 3-day event, too, coming up to help bring attention to what it is and as a fundraiser. And there's going to be an extraordinary lineup of guest speakers and talent at this event. You're going to want to be a part of it if you're in Northern California. And if not, come on, make a drive on up. Find out what the beautiful part of California is all about. Northern California. I am CharLee Simons, your host here on Do Not Talk, talking about two things you're never supposed to talk about: politics and religion. One decides what life is going to be like here on earth. The other one decides what it's going to be like when you leave it. And my guests from Church of Glad Tidings, Matt Kennedy and Pastor Dave Bryan. But first,
some more of the scene, CharLee. Well,
and now, here he is, a man of God, living in a world of Disney.
Ouch, Charlie!
CharLee Simons.
Charlie bit me.
may God bless you and keep you, and thank you so much for being here. If you'll like this show right now, wherever you're watching it, on Facebook, YouTube, or at rumble.com/DoNotTalk, hit that like button. You help us that way. You help the show. You help it grow. We got algorithms and the devil-owned and operated internet that seems to hate Christian conservatives and doesn't want anything to get out to you. So help us fight against that, would you? It's so simple. Just hit that like button. And that helps break down the algorithms that are dead set against us. Also, if you can follow this channel, wherever you're watching it, follow it, become a member of it, or subscribe to it, like on YouTube. Doesn't cost you anything. And share these shows, especially this one. I ask you to please share this show when it's done, because this is such a huge event coming up. It's such an important thing, such a vital, vital need. And the church is supposed to step up and do these kind of things. Don't wait for the government to do it. One thing you can count on with any kind of government agency or government bureaucracy that's supposed to be helping us, they're going to screw it up. That's my opinion, not the opinion of these two gentlemen. I'll let them speak for themselves, and they do it very well. Hello, Matt Kennedy. Hello, Pastor Bryan.
Hello, Charlie. How you doing, buddy?
How you doing, CharLee?
Better now that you're here. Thank you so much for being on. I love what you're doing. It's called Peace of Heaven, and that's PEACE, the Peace of Heaven. Who's that benefiting?
That's benefiting the children that are being rescued out of the horrendous evil of child sex trafficking.
It is horrendous evil. And the apathy that I seem to be getting from so many, at least especially here in California, I hope it's not the same way all across the United States, but here in California, I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. I don't hear a lot of elected officials talking about it, but yet we're one of the hubs, especially here in the Sacramento area. We're like 5th largest in the nation of trafficking going on because all the freeways converge. We got the San Francisco Bay Area right over there. We got the Delta that they bring them into SF, and then they bring them up here, and then they ship them out, and they are being busted by the new DOJ. But what's happening to these children that they are rescuing?
Come on, Charlie.
What is happening to them?
Well, the problem is the rescue is really almost senseless if there's no place to take them. In other words, it's an aborted rescue is what it is. That they can kick in doors and grab children, and they can bust child brothels and all kinds of things. But if there's no place to take the children, then what happens is the agencies swoop in. Like, for instance, here in California, CharLee, and this is how I got involved in this just a year ago. But a bunch of children were rescued. There was no place to take them. And here came California Child Protection Services and took them back. And though a lot of people that want to put their head in their sand, play like it's not true, it absolutely is true that children like that are simply recycled. They go from from being sex trafficked to being sex trafficked. And of
Exactly.
course, yeah. And of course, the Child Protective Services of California and of many other states, they conveniently just lose the children. Oh, we don't know what happened to them. Well, we do know what happened to them. They just don't want to talk about it. But the reason they're not on the books is because they're given to pedophile rings, and they make a lot of money doing it. And people like to say, "Oh, it's a conspiracy theory." It absolutely is not. It's an absolutely proven fact that in the United States, Child Protective Services, and again, there are good people that work there and are trying to help. I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying the system is extremely corrupt. And
But so
so,
many people have like an Ebenezer Scrooge kind of attitude of, well, that's what I pay taxes for. They're being taken care of. But they're
yeah,
not, are they, Matt? You and I talked about this, about how many in foster homes are put into foster homes and then suddenly they just disappear. Like Pastor Brian was talking about.
right,
How prevalent is that, Matt?
Yeah, it's alarming, especially in the space that we're working in now. We really get intelligence and information from different sources that can trust because it's not necessarily mainstream. And I feel that the public has been put under this spell or some kind of an illusion that government's still working in their best interest because they are taxpayers, but they don't really understand that government really isn't working for them the way that they think, and that everybody's being bombarded with tons of information and being distracted away from what we should be focusing on. And so you get, all kinds of information is flowing through people, whether it be mainstream or even alternative. Just like there's just tons of information that's being shot out at people, and I think people just they lose focus, or they get duped by the mainstream media narrative of lumping in rescuing children and child trafficking in with being a QAnon conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
They want to kind of pigeonhole people into thinking, oh, don't look over here because then you're going to be one of those QAnon people. And I think that some people fall for it, and that's too bad.
It was several years ago that 60 Minutes actually did a story about Sacramento in particular and what's going on with the sex trafficking that's happening right here.
yep,
How can anybody turn around and say, well, it's still a conspiracy theory or it's a QAnon thing, unless they're
right,
absolutely that ignorant or they want to be that ignorant?
yeah, yeah. I think that there are people that are that ignorant, though. That's becoming more and more challenging. We're getting to the point, if you don't know, it's because you don't want to know. It's
Right.
certainly not because the information isn't out there anymore.
Right.
But I think part of it, Charlie, is the fact that if you're a moral being, which we are as human beings, we're made in the image and likeness of God, and we have within us a conscience, and the very root of that English word means to act with moral knowledge. We act with an awareness of right and wrong. That's what a conscience is. But the reason I bring it up, Charlie, is um, if you're a sentient being with a conscience and you admit to the fact of child trafficking, then it makes it real hard to sit back and do nothing. And so it's an easier option for people just to say, oh, I choose not to believe that that's happening. I'm just not going to believe that it's happening. And that happens a lot.
Mhm.
And
I was just reading Mark chapter 9, New
mhm,
American Standard.
yeah,
Whosoever, Jesus saying, whoever causes one of these little ones who believe to stumble, it would be better for him if a heavy millstone hung around his neck and he be cast into the sea. Not that you do it to yourself, but it should be done to you. Those
yeah,
are the words of Jesus. How
right,
complicit are people, especially Christians, who know what's going on, but go, somebody else will handle it. I don't need
right.
to do anything.
Charlie, we were just talking about that because I grew up on a ranch in Idaho, and Idaho is the only state at this point. I hope it winds up being just the first state, but at this point, Idaho has adopted the a shooting squad, death by a shooting squad
Firing
for
squad. Yes.
molesters. For
Yes.
and what they're saying is You shouldn't do it ever, but if you do it once, it will be your last.
Yeah.
And some people think, well, that's harsh. Well, I just had this conversation yesterday, Charlie. That verse that you just quoted, um, Jesus, the Greek word there is scandal, and whoever scandalizes a child, and that means to entrap an evil. Whoever scandalizes a child, it'd be better for a millstone to be hung around their neck. And we were talking about it. And I said, I would much rather face a
A
shooting
firing
squad,
squad.
a firing squad, than to have a millstone around my neck and be thrown into the deepest sea.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, however you slice it and dice it, what remains unquestionably is that Jesus ascribed the highest penalty to somebody that would scandalize a child. And so I think we need to come to terms with that. Jesus was very, very serious about it. And by the way, this whole thing with child trafficking is an intentional act of evil as an affront to God, because we're all made in his image and likeness. But the most godly are the children who are without sin. They're just innocent babes, and so they are the truest reflection of God. And so to for a God that is eternal and all powerful, the only way, if you're filled with hatred against him, the only way to hurt him is to hurt his children.
Mhm.
And
Who
so that's
Jesus said we're to become like.
yep. And that's what this is all about. And
Mhm.
it is much worse uh, than people want to acknowledge. And again, because acknowledgement causes you to you're if you acknowledge it and do nothing, you're culpable. If you are able to deceive yourself and keep your head in the sand, it's like, oh, I don't believe that anyway. And you can at least try to go about your own business. But like I said, it's not something in the 80s, it was still happening, but uh, no one really had begun to break into it and expose it. And so it's been happening all along. But today, there are a whole bunch of forerunner heroes that have done exposés on it, and there are some great uh, documentaries out. Mike Smith, who will be one of the speakers at the Rev 17, he did his movie Out of the Shadows and talked about what was happening in Hollywood. And we're here today at Louis Herm's. We're using his studio. He's from Screw Big Gov, great guy. And he did a movie called Cages and Line in the Sand. I mean, the Sound of Freedom. There are a bunch of movies out, whether they're documentaries or more storyline movies. Uh, the information is getting out there. And so people need to acknowledge it's not somebody's problem, it's our problem.
Right.
And so we've got to be involved as best we can. We've got to be involved in the solution.
If you're not going to champion children,
Come on,
what else are
Charlie.
you going? What else are you going to turn your back on?
Exactly.
Matt, you were telling me a story about Pastor Brian, and he was there and a part of one of these rescue operations. What can you share with that, Pastor Brian? Fill in the blanks there, would you?
Well, yeah. So, Charlie, of course, we've hobnobbed together for a while. You know that we've done a number of different kinds of conferences. We did one called Dark Secrets and Bright Hopes. But anyway, I connected with a fella that has lived a life in the military, and he was debriefing with me. He was just about to retire, and he was talking about some of the most discouraging things that he had been involved in. And he brought up the fact that child trafficking is a worldwide egregious evil. It's everywhere. It's not only in every nation, but it's in churches and in politics and the Boy Scouts. And I mean, it just goes on, Charlie. And we were talking about that. And, you know, there's a verse in the Bible, Charlie, that says God will bring things to our remembrance when we need to remember them. And as we were talking, I just remembered trying to help a boy 20 years earlier, and he had just paroled from prison, and he was living at our house, but he had made plans to hunt down two of his uncles and to kill them. And he was just a 21-year-old boy. And we were trying to convince him not to do that. And we basically said, don't throw your life away over being embittered. And he said, my uncle's already ruined my life. My life is over already. But then I'll never forget him saying, any man who would take their own nephew and take him down to a barge between Sacramento and Oakland and laugh at him while strangers sodomized him, they don't deserve to live. Well, I thought to myself, you got a point there, boy.
You got a point.
You got a point. But anyway, we were trying at the time to say, let other people deal with that. So at least you don't throw the rest of your life away. And anyway, that boy didn't stay with us. And I'm not sure what's become of him. But now I'm talking to this military guy, and I've had a lot of memories in the last 20 years, Charlie. But anyway, that one came up. And I know now it was God just reminded me about that. And so I just asked him about it. I said, in all that you've done, have you ever heard of a barge between San Francisco and Oakland that they traffic children off of? And he said, no. He said, I've heard of some heinous things happening out there on the water because it's largely unmonitored out there.
Right.
But he said, I hadn't heard of that. So anyway, our conversation went a different direction, and I didn't think about it again until the next day. And he called and he said, on behalf of the children that we saved at First Light this morning, I just want to thank you for that tip. And he said, as soon as our lunch appointment was over, he scrambled guys on both sides of the water. He said, not only did we find it, it was easy to find. It seemed like in the seedy parts of Oakland and in San Francisco, people knew about it. And so they planned a raid, and they saved a whole bunch of children. But anyway, our celebration, Charlie, was short-lived because he said, now we got to figure out what to do with him, and we need to do that in a hurry. We don't have a place for all these kids.
No.
And he asked me to help, and Charlie, I tried, but
You can't. You've been handcuffed. You've been shackled, especially as a Christian.
Yep.
The government's not going to work with you.
No, and we couldn't find a place for him. And just a couple of days later, first of all, Charlie, I got a mysterious call from somebody who knew about the bust, and it wasn't in the news. It was an undercover operation, and they somehow tracked me down and called and said that they wanted to know about the kids. And of course, I just dummied up. I thought, how in the world do you know about this? So I said, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I got really nothing to say, and hung up. And he called back, and he was very angry. And he said, don't you hang up on me. I'm from California Child Protective Services, and those are our kids, and I want to know what happened to them. Think about that for a minute, Charlie. Think about them claiming that kids that had been sex trafficked off of
Our children
was their children. And I had just hung up on him again. But anyway, my contact called me back a short time later and said, hey, thanks for helping. Child Protective Services came and claimed the kids, picked them up. They're gone. And I'll never forget this, Charlie, because you know this, but our ministry motto at Glad Tidings is find a need and meet it, find a hurt and heal it. And you talk about a need, and you talk about a hurt. And so when he said, hey, thanks for trying to help, but if you really want to help these kids, find a place for them to go. We could rescue them all day long, but
and there was the
no
seed.
place for them to go.
There was
So
the seed.
that's what headed us down the road to, first of all, finding an abandoned minimum security women's prison called the Leo Chesney Center. It's only 5 miles from our church front door. and it was mothballed. They weren't using it. It had been outlawed because the state of California doesn't want anybody to compete with them for federal funding for prisoners. So, anyway, they had passed legislation to shut it down, which in itself is tragic. But anyway, we had looked at it to expand our drug rehab years ago. They wanted $17 million for it, and we didn't have 17 million. Imagine that. But anyway, we had to do something else, as an alternative to expand our drug rehab. But as I was thinking about it, I thought, wow, it's minimum security, which means there are no cells, there are no bars. It's just 10 acres. It's very secure, and it's set up, in dormitories. So I thought, wow, we could transform that from a women's prison to a children's paradise and just make it a beautiful place. And next time there was a need for kids, we'd have some place to take them. So I reopened negotiations with the Leo Chesney Center, and we talked them down, and I'm so thankful for it. But they came down all the way down to 4 million, which is a heck of a discount, right? But anyway, so we made an agreement, and that's what we're doing now, CharLee. We're trying to get people's attention, trying to find people who care and want to be a part of the solution. And we're trying to raise $4 million by the end of June. We've raised about half of that, CharLee, but we need to raise the rest of it in order to be able to get the keys to this Leo Chesney Center. And then we'll set about transforming it from a prison into a paradise, and making it ready to house some of these kids that really don't have any other place to go.
Matt, you helped orchestrate a telethon that I thought was extremely well done. It was what was it, 11 hours, 12 hours, something like that?
It was a long day. Yeah, it was a
It
long
was a
day.
long day.
It felt like 24 hours, but
I know.
It was about 10 or 11 hours, I think.
I was very
Yeah.
impressed, especially
Yeah.
considering I don't think any of y'all had ever done anything like that.
No.
So you took that event, and I don't know how much you ultimately raised, but I pray it was successful, but it's not enough. So you got an idea for a 3-day event coming up now, because you're gluttons for punishment, but you're doing the Lord's work, and we're not working for reward here on earth, are we now?
That's
We're
right.
No,
building
this-
our treasures in heaven, where moth cannot destroy and rust cannot destroy and thieves cannot steal.
Yeah.
Amen.
What is it exactly?
Well, we are calling it Rev 17 for Revelation 17 in the New Testament, and it is it's a multifaceted event. It is a conference, but it's kind of a summit. But basically, it's going to have a utility to it, basically. So it's going to not only be a fundraiser for Peace of Heaven, but it's also going to be a collaborative effort with all of the best minds that are in this fight right now of combating human and child trafficking. So we're inviting some of the best speakers in the alternative news space, as well as people who have ministries in other parts of the country. They're also doing all kinds of different elements to fighting this battle of child trafficking. So we're bringing them to this conference to create awareness for the public. And we're going to be live streaming the event and having a live audience. We're going to pack out the Church of Glad Tidings with people coming from out of state and all over California. We're hoping to have in-house, so probably around 600 people in-house in the church. But we're going to have a whole weekend event from different speakers and presentations. We'll even have a lady who's going to be singing some songs that are tied into a holy war that we're involved in with this whole situation. And so it's going to be a big impact to the public, and we're hoping that it will going back to your original point in this broadcast of why is the public asleep and why aren't they reacting the way that you would think that they would react?
Right.
Well, I think it's because the world in the mainstream and pop culture has been giving them false narratives and not telling them that this is an urgent matter that's happening in their backyard. So we're going to counter that with the way that we like to do things at the Church of Glad Tidings, which is bringing them truth in the best way that we know how, which is bringing a collaborative effort of patriots and people who are not afraid to tell the truth into one building for a 3-day event and live stream that all over X and Rumble. And we're going to try to reach 5 million views is the goal.
I will be there as well.
Come
Thank
on,
you for
CharLee.
inviting me. I want to be broadcasting live from the whole thing, and
Awesome.
anything I can do, just put me to work.
Awesome.
It's going to be a family event. I'm quite sure of that. You got plenty of parking. If you can actually be there in person, please do. All
Actually,
3
CharLee,
days, or just pick a day. Go ahead.
Actually, CharLee, it's not quite a family event. We had to have a age limit of 16 and up.
Oh, because of the
For
content,
the
the topic
content.
matter.
The content's very controversial. We don't have daycare provided. It is these are very adult subjects, but I mean, these are the people, these are the taxpayers we were talking about that we're trying to wake up and get into the fight. We're trying to wake up churches. We're trying to wake up local leaders. We're trying to wake up local law enforcement. Like, these are all people that we want to plug into our network and provide them with real life cases and scenarios of what real life people have either experienced. Like, we have one woman who's been trafficked through Epstein Island, who's coming to give her testimony. We have another woman that's been trafficked her whole life to global elite and American politicians, and had babies in that system, and her daughter was a part of that entire system. So we have Kathy O'Brien. That's her story that she's going to be laying out for folks at this conference. And we have Laura Logan, who's been doing investigative journalism most of her adult life, but has been following connections and the dots to identifying that human and child trafficking has been the number one profit machine for the deep state and the global cabal. So some of the people that are going to be sharing stories and firsthand knowledge and information are going to give the public what they need to hear.
Laura Logan's going to be there too. Wow.
Yeah, Laura Logan. Not only that, but Troy Brewer, pastor out of Texas. Troy Brewer has really led the charge. He's rescued 11,000 kids from sex trafficking, actually over that, 11,400. Troy's going to be there. He's also he's one of the executive board for the Peace of Heaven. Remember, the Rev 17, which we're talking about, is a fundraiser for the Peace of Heaven project to buy the Leo Chesney Center. But Troy's going to be there. ARC, the Association for the Recovery of Children, that's Basil and Tina Boz. They're going to be there. And by the way, the following week, which begins on the 23rd and goes through the 29th, they're going to be doing their ARC training right on our campus, right there, the Embassy of Heaven in Yuba City, and training people to recognize signs of child trafficking, to recognize signs of grooming on the internet, what kind of messages your kids are getting by text and email, and what they're looking for on TikTok. Well, we have some of the best in the world that are coming to train an army to recognize the signs of child grooming and child trafficking, to be part of the solution. So the ARC training will be the week following the Rev 17 conference. And you can go to ARC, that's the Association for the Recovery of Children, and sign up for the training in Yuba City. Or you can go to our website, churchofgladtidings.com, and you can be trained to be part of an army that is providing a solution and networking together. And Basil and Tina, again, they're champions and the world's best, but they're wanting to raise up an army and have a trained ARC representative in every county in America, so that we can work together from coast to coast and border to border and shut down this evil empire of child sex trafficking.
I don't think I have a lot of Karens watching my show because, for one thing, I'm not a fan. I'm more like, leave people alone. But we could use a huge army of Karens and Kevins right about now.
Yeah.
Hey,
Uh,
that's a great
Instead of
point,
freaking
Charlie.
out over somebody parking in the wrong spot, why don't you
Yeah,
start learning how to spot these people who are being trafficked?
that's
Come
right.
on.
That's right. That's right. And you know what? I feel you make a great point. And we can do all the effort that we can do as human beings on this earth to help them wake up. But God's going to show up, and He's going to help, help them see what we see, because that really, it has to be a red pill moment, but it has to be a God moment that comes into people's lives to get them to really, care about what matters.
Yeah.
Like, it's the next generation. If we can't fix this generation moving forward, we're going to be lost. We're going to be in a big, big trouble.
I would love to see people come every day and hear all of these guest speakers and become aware and become involved.
Yeah.
But if you can only just make one day and you're thinking, well, is there going to be food there available to purchase? How am I going to plan my day out? What can you tell them?
Well, we're going to tell them this off the top. If you want to be a part of it, go to peaceofheaven.life or else churchofgladtidings.com. Those are two websites, peaceofheaven.life or churchofgladtidings.com, and buy a ticket. It's a fundraiser for Peace of Heaven. It's only $49 for the 3 days, but we expect it to sell out. And so that's the place to start, is go buy yourself a ticket and then plan to be there. If you, for some reason, just can't make it, watch for the details for the live stream that will be happening. But remember, we're trying to bring a Super Bowl team together, record what they're doing, and the piece that each contributor is playing to bring a solution to this. And then we want to just flood the internet, flood the airwaves with information and help be a part of awakening people to this egregious evil so that we can put an end to it. And yes, there will be food trucks available. And once you get out to our campus, you'll have everything you need out there. But anyway,
Exactly. It's really nice. You'll like it. If you haven't been there before, they've done an amazing job. You've built a great campus, basically.
well, thank you,
Campus for the
Charlie.
Lord.
Yeah,
Campus for the Lord.
yeah. That's why we
So
call it the Embassy of Heaven. Yeah,
I love it.
yeah,
Peaceofheaven.life, not .com, not
yeah,
.us, not anything
Peace of
else.
heaven.
.life.
yeah.
Peace, Peace. Yeah, thank you,
Right.
Matt.
Yeah,
Peaceofheaven.life or churchofgladtidings.com. Either one will get you the information you need. Plan accordingly.
yeah.
So what is the age limit? You're saying
It's going to be 16 and up, and it's happening June 20th through the 22nd. And you want to buy your tickets in advance because this will sell out, and it's one ticket per person, and they're non-transferable. So make sure you go online and check that out.
but it's all for a great cause.
That's right.
Thank you so much. You're both such a blessing, and I appreciate you coming on the show and helping get the word out about this. Matthew Kennedy and Pastor Dave Bryan from Church of Glad Tidings. Thank you.
We love
Thank you, Charlie.
you.
Love you, buddy.
We love you, Charlie. We can't wait
Right
to
back,
see you.
right back at you. There you go. If you can help and you can be a part of it, join us. Starting June 20th, 3-day event. And you can get more information too, or contact me about it if you want. If you want to help out, be part of my production crew with doing the live broadcast from there. Sure. You can find me at CharLeeSimons.com. CharLee Simons, CharLeeSimons.com. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America, bless God.